Dubs, when did the women's team, did they just get bad overnight? Has it been a gradual process? What's happening here? 4 straight losses, haven't scored.
Yeah, haven't won nor scored since June.
It's not good, right?
No, it's like two chapters, I think, to the Casey Stoney era so far, where it's a couple months, beginning of 2026, it'll be a year that she was hired, and great promise. And I think inheriting a team that had just in the fall, they tied Spain, they ended kind of in resounding fashion, scoring lots of goals. New players brought in, including somebody like Emma Regan, who had yet to join. I think she was maybe announced at that point as joining AFC Toronto, then obviously played every single minute for them and has been a critical piece of that team. Win the Supporters Shield, they make it to the final, but then she's also been kind of the heir apparent to a Desi Scott. There was a void there in the middle of the park. Anyway, all that to say, I think huge expectations for bringing this team to new heights after a very difficult Olympics. And then they played teams. They started in the Pinatar Cup. They won that. Weren't really challenged, but you're playing teams who are maybe around, 30th in the world, or like not top 20, but like between 20 and 30 and kind of the middle tier if you're looking at women's soccer worldwide. And Canada rolled as they should have done, playing teams like Haiti and Costa Rica, scoring goals, maybe showing some flashes of vulnerabilities that will be exposed versus top tier opponents, but they hadn't played those types of teams yet. And then the second half of the year, June and beyond, where obviously she's had limited time with this team, 6 windows over the course of the year. She's missing now because her mom is sick, has cancer, and is on her deathbed. So Casey Stoney's not there. Natalie Henderson is there. But I mean, you're preaching the same points and the way that you want this team to play. But I don't really know what this team's identity is anymore. Like they've looked uninspired. It's looked lackluster. They're not the team that's going to be airtight defensively, really difficult to play against, physical, winning all the duels. They are not that. And it's so difficult in the attacking phase where if they are creating chances, they're not finishing them, or it's just very wasteful, very untidy in possession, where they look unsure of themselves. You've amassed a team that's very talented. They've got bags of experience, and it's like they've forgotten how to play together. So I think there's a disconnect between what Casey Stoney wants them to do and an execution of that. But then also this team doesn't look anywhere near their standards collectively, nor as individuals. Like, I mean, it's been difficult for some at club and getting minutes and getting, producing goals and goal contributions and what they were brought in to do if they're strikers. But you even look at like midfielders, like a Jessie Fleming as the captain. She doesn't look like she's the same player that she used to be a year or two ago, where she was ascending. And that's a microcosm of, I think, the issues facing this team, where they're going to slip out of the top 10. Like they've got another matchup at midnight tonight, so like early Tuesday morning. And if you see the bags under my eyes, it was because of that late game 1:30 a.m. kickoff Saturday morning where they lost 3-0 to Japan. And it could have been more. And so they're going into another match versus Japan, who are top of the heap. I mean, they're ranked 8th in the world, but they're one of the world's best in my estimation. And they struggled. They were carved wide open by this Japanese team, who just look like they're on a different level than Canada. So they're walking into this game like lambs to the slaughter, basically. And that's how they're going to finish out the year. I hope it's going to be a better performance, but I don't think they're going to get the result that they hope for to end on a high. But what's more concerning to me is the underlying performances since June. It's been really difficult.
Do you think it's a case, Dubs, of the rest of the world really catching up to Canada?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The rise of the women's game. I mean, this is why I think it's I'm not too concerned, just because of the NSL and the importance of that league for developing our players at home. And I think that that's going to put us in good stead down the road. But I don't think we'll see a benefit of that for a year or two. But it's really important, because I think that is part of the reason why, as other countries take the women's game more seriously, it's going to get more competitive.
Yeah, I like that look, because it's glass half full. I think that's how I tend to roll. But right now it's pretty bleak. And then this is a year where they didn't have a major competition. They're a little less than a year out from World Cup qualifications, which are November of 26. So the good thing there, speaking of silver linings, is that you still have time to tinker. But what's troubling to me is Casey Stoney has been disdainful about NSL, about players from there, which is tricky because you have key components of your current roster who ply their trade there, and then you're justifying other players not getting called in because they play their football in NSL. I mean, that's a juxtaposition and not something I think you want to be forward facing about or public like facing, talking about the league like that and that kind of condescension. But she's also talked about our player pool being quite small. And I think that that's reductive, and I think it's unhelpful. I think you're probably at a point where you don't have players like Emma Hayes does coming in. She's rotated like that squad so much, probably, like 75 players have not necessarily been blooded and seen time for the US, but they've been into camps. And so like you've totally expanded your player pool and given yourself a better job or an easier time of it as a selectioner, and given more competition that's just built into that kind of player pool in the US. And it's apples to oranges. We can't really compare to what they have there in terms of their population and also just top tier players. But I think Canada's not far off from that. And you alluded to it. But I think what we have right now is better than Casey Stoney thinks. And I think because she's got blinders on and thinking, I just have like a roster of like 30 players and I can move players and chop and change and move in that way. But I think it's deeper than she actually believes, because previous regimes have been very loyal to certain players and is to the detriment of building out that player pool.
Mm-hmm. You've watched all the NSL games. Is there any players in that league that you think are ready and deserve a chance to be in that national team squad?
Yes. And somebody that comes to mind immediately is Nikki Small for AFC Toronto. Like, there was a lot made of that attacking tandem of Esther Okoronkwo and Kaylee Hunter, who Kaylee Hunter is not called into this window, but they're going to play AFC Toronto Supporters Shield winners in NSL. They're going down to the World Sevens. And that's really great for exposure. And it's a bit of a reward, bit of a carrot for them after a really impressive season. But Kaylee Hunter should be in that roster. She's not, and she picked up a knock, and maybe that's already prearranged with club. She'll step into there, and that's needed talent at the top. Emma Regan gets a lot of the kind of attention as well because she played every single minute, as I already mentioned. But Nikki Small was the heartbeat of that team. Like, she's so clever on the ball. She was billed as somebody who could provide assists and create going forward, but she was also a league leader in tackles. She also scored tons of goals. She could play wide. She could play more inside and find those pockets, or in a game, just rotate across that front line and really give defenses fits. But I heard rumors that she's also eligible for Jamaica. And if she doesn't get a sniff at Canada coming up soon here, maybe she goes and she's like, if I want to play international football, I maybe have a better chance of doing it, or I likely have a better chance to do it with Jamaica. And that would be disappointing for Canada.
Given the issues with Jamaica and women's soccer, given the choice, even the smallest chance, you stick with Canada, don't you?
But if you're not even getting a look as part of a provisional roster, or you haven't even had conversations with the selectioner or the head coach, I wouldn't blame her if she chose to shift her focus.
How old is she? She's young?
Yeah. I think early 20s still, maybe 23 or 24, if I'm not mistaken.
Phoebe Pridham, will any chance she'll be available for the next match? Or is that passport issue going to drag on?
That's passport issues. She was again included in a provisional roster in 2022, but never really called in officially. So she's born in the US to Canadians. So she had access to that citizenship, or the Canadian citizenship, but she never got her passport. And I don't know if Canada Soccer didn't push on their side either, but she traveled on her US passport. Yeah, there's time.
But there was time. I mean, if she had a first sniff in 2022, it's 2025, she could have pushed this the last 3 years.
Yeah, but I think the blame can be shared here. I mean, there's
it's
probably
Adam
more
Van
at play than
Couverden's
we know.
Adam Van Couverden's issue. He held it back.
Well, we know how
Alfie Jones got one in a
Alfie
second.
Jones. I was going to say,
Back to Jessie Fleming. She's 27, in her prime right now. Now, she moved to Portland not so long ago, actually. And by the way, Rob Gale left there, by the way, last week.
Yeah.
Like, was that a bad move for her? Do you think from the WSL, where perhaps she wasn't getting the minutes that she wanted, but that's still coming over to North America. NWSL is obviously a top league, but if you look at her personal career, was that at the time a well-advised move?
Yeah, maybe not. It was Karina LeBlanc was GM at the time, was the person who executed that move, and obviously, I think she took she got an increase in pay and got a better contract. And obviously, when you're a professional player, that's what you're looking at as well, right? You increase your standing that way. Comes in maybe on the promise of being a more nailed-on starter for a team, because while Chelsea is one of the best clubs in the world for women's football, you have a high kind of day-to-day training environment, which is pushing your standards yourself and allowing you to improve. But you want to play. You have to play regular minutes, and she wasn't getting those regular minutes. So you understand that yearning as well to go somewhere and be valued and be somebody who is on that team sheet regularly. But it didn't last very long. And Portland has an incredible fan base, whether you're talking about the Timbers or the Thorns. But the Canadians, even somebody like Sinky, who goes into the Hall of Fame as the first kind of player who's in there for the Thorns, much maligned towards the end of her career and scapegoated. And same with Jessie Fleming, and then Mimi Alidu not getting a sniff there either. So it's difficult, and I don't think it's maybe a wrong move. It's a move, and you're kind of changing style of play, and depending who you're playing with, it's a more physical league certainly, but they're competing with WSL for the best league in the world, and WSL is. But yeah, Jessie Fleming, I think her personal level and her quality, the way that she can boss a midfield and be on the ball a lot and pull the strings for Canada, hasn't done that for a wee while.